Hi, it's Kev from the Leg Up Project. I've got Mark Llewhellin on board tonight. How you
Hi,
doing?
Kev. All right.
Yeah, I'm good. What do you know? Anything interesting?
Not a lot, according to probably quite a few people, but I just muddle my way through life, I guess, like a lot of us do.
Yeah, me too, mate. Me too.
Let's get stuck in. That's it, mate.
What do you do, Mark?
I'm an author. I write personal development books. I was pretty successful at ultra distance running uh, in the past, and I was a terrible runner when I started. So yeah, I was just always really fascinated in the mindset, and it's a funny thing now because like this day and age, self-help or personal development is such a huge thing now. But I mean, I started this journey 25 years ago, and I can remember people in my old army commando unit saying, "What are you reading that garbage for?" And these rich Americans are just, they're making millions of pounds because you're buying their books, you're being suckered into it. And then you fast forward, like when I come out of the army and it was succeeding in a lot of things, failed in a lot of things as well, but succeeded in a lot of things. Um, I can remember one of my old army mates, and he just said, they called me Taff back then. He said, "Taff, how has your life turned out like this?" And he was like, "It's those books, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah, it's them, it's them brainwashing books that told me to think positive, set goals, keep going, get around the right people." And it's, yeah, that more than anything, I would say has changed my life.
I'll agree with you, mate, because I would say that I started reading self-help books over 20 years ago now. And
Yeah.
again, this it is mindset. It is, for me, mindset's your attitude to life, and that's what makes the difference with your life. And you've got to, what did we used to say? Fail to plan, plan to fail.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so why do you do what you do?
Why do I do what I do? Well, that's a deep question, isn't it? We could be here all night. We could
Let's
be
keep
talking
it.
about my sexual fantasies and all sorts of stuff now. But why do I do what I do? I think I do what I do is just the same as what most people do. You normally do what you do in an effort to make your life better, and hopefully in an effort to make everybody else's life a little bit better as well. So that's the main reason I do what I do.
Again, mate, that reflects where I'm at, and for me to have the purpose that I have, and to help people move forward in the life, and basically just be happier people. And sometimes it's literally just changing mindset, isn't it? What's the best piece of advice you would give to your 21-year-old self?
Keep doing what you're doing because you're going to end up in an awesome position.
So you were doing well at 21 then,
How
yeah?
smug is that? No. Well, I actually, it's a funny thing because I'm a kind of a, I'm a kind of believer in fate, but I also believe that if I would have changed things of my past, gone in a different direction, then it would have changed everything. And I mean, I've done things in the past that have not worked out well in terms of, I mean, financially, I got rid of a house when I was years ago and that I shouldn't have got rid of, maybe. But if I would have kept that house, my life would have been in a different circumstance there. So then, as you could probably see there, my little baby boy, I wouldn't have been doing the job that I would have been doing to meet his mum, and he would have never come into an existence. So I just, if I went, I think I would be almost like Marty McFly on Back to the Future, and like Doc say, observe, observe this 21-year-old idiot, but don't get involved with him, because if you do change something, it could change the course of your life. And I would never risk that. I mean, I know we all know if we went back in a time machine, right, we've got to invest in Facebook, Google, Amazon, Apple. Do you know what I mean? Bitcoin or whatever it is. But that could knock everything out, and you could end up, with bags of money and stuff like that, which is great. But you could miss out on something that is far greater.
Again, mate, you know, I think that when you're sitting in a good position mentally, you have no regrets, and you can really take all the hardships you had as being underpinning who you've become now. So for me, when, you know, there's guys out there who are struggling, the struggles that they're having are really, they're the lessons that they need to really get hold of, because they're the things that are going to support and build the resilience that they need for further problems that are coming along. Because we've all got stuff coming up, haven't we? We're going to deal with it. But I think I wouldn't change anything. And I, you know, I went through some pretty vile times. I think everybody does, don't they? But it makes us who we are, doesn't it?
Everybody does. It doesn't matter how tough you are or how tough you think you are. Yeah, my last book, Man the Fuck Up, you know, it says that. All of a sudden, like, people are like, oh, you can't say that. But I mean, in the first chapter, it's actually going on to say about the story about how, you know, when I was young, my mum killed herself, and then my granddad had killed himself, and then my dad's cousin had killed himself, and then my granddad's brother had killed himself. So there's this thing in the family, you know, the Llewhellin curse, was it? And these things sort of happen. But it doesn't matter how, what it says in that first chapter is goes into more detail about those circumstances, but it also says, it don't matter who you are, you can be the toughest person in the world. Life will bring you to your knees. You just can't escape it. You know, you just really can't. And I mean, if you're a parent, if you're a son, if you're connected to people, life is going to hurt you, because, you know, we lose people along the journey, and, you know, losing like mothers and fathers and stuff like that, and God forbid, with some people, their children, losing their children. I mean, some horrendous things. Yes, you have to fucking get a grip and man the fuck up, but at the same time, when something devastating happens to you, that's not the time for like, oh, just get a grip, mate, come on, you'll be fine. We know that, you know, these tragic events like this is going to take a lot of time, you know, to overcome it. And so you have to have the maturity to say, you know, I would never, if someone's mother died, I wouldn't hand them the book Man the Fuck Up. It's just not at that stage. Do you know what I mean? At the funeral. Hey, do you know what? I've got a new book for you.
And this is, mate, you bang on really. And I think, you know, as I got into this, the project's been going a couple of years now. I mean, pre-COVID, and the COVID stuff's really highlighted the issue with men's mental health. So what do you think? What's the deal with men? Why are, you know, looking statistically, most recent statistics I've looked at, 18 people a day in the UK are taking their life. 75% of them are going to be men. So what's our issue? What do you think our issue?
Well, the issue is really what you're focusing on. And I went through a stage, it was like, I think it was 2002, where I was going through some certain things in my life. So it was a long time ago. And I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. I can't, this is, you know, as tough as I believed I was like, you know, I'm £43,000 in debt. I owe this local person this. You know, I've literally gone from like the breaking the world record, the running the 1600 mile, the commando stuff, the bodyguard stuff, and I'd gone from that, and then I was like completely broke, living with my mum, and I was like, fuck, how has this happened? Do you know what I mean? I should have been doing a lot better than this by now, but I just wasn't. So I decided to feel sorry for myself, and I didn't think about anyone else back then. I mean, I didn't have Leon, my son, back then either. But you can get so into yourself. It's so bad, it's so bad, it's so bad. I mean, you know, we'll see people on the TV, not mentioning any names, just recently, that are like, they live around Beverly Hills, they're sort of rich, they're famous, but, oh, you know what, I think I need to tell the world about how bad I've got it. You know?
I know, man. And I think, you know, what you touched upon there is victim mentality that we can have. And I think everybody goes through that. I definitely remember having a victim mentality myself. And I think when you share with the right people what's going on, and when you're in a position where you're listening to the right people, you don't always want to take advice. But sometimes when you just share what's going on, and then that's pretty much what the group's about, you see, and find out you're not the only one. In fact, everybody's going to deal with it.
If you've lived long enough and you've been through enough stuff, you will kind of you are going to go through hell. You just go into. If you have not been through hell, if you have not been at the lowest low and stuff like that, you probably haven't been through that much.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just the way. That's just life. But exactly on the point when you were saying about sharing, you're because. I mean, even though some people with the title of the Man the Fuck Up book, they were so offended. I was like, what are you offended about? Oh, you're just saying this. And I'm like, well, how do you interpret it? And the guy, I remember one guy said, well, I interpret this as if you're not allowed to share stuff. You've just got to get on with it. And I said, well, there's a chapter in the book that basically says, man the fuck up and talk to people. Man the fuck up. Because sometimes, so it takes courage to talk
Absolutely,
to people,
mate. 100%.
you know, and especially from our sort of background, when you're in elite units, you're like sort of, you know, it is a bit of a worry. But also it's a funny thing, because also like 2-9 Commando, I mean, it's fantastic for me, because one of the things that I really admired about them when I joined as a young soldier, I was like 18 years old, and if anybody would be like, oh, I can't do, I'm struggling with this run or something like that. Everybody, it wouldn't that they were nasty. They would start saying things like, help me, staff. I'm a wanker. I'm pathetic. I can't do it, staff. So there were things like that, which I thought was fantastic. So yes, for that, it was a get a grip, get on with it, stop whinging. I'm all into that. But that is a far cry from people dying and you know, that are super close to you.
Yeah,
so it's and even as you know with the Marines or 2-9 Commando or whatever regiment, however tough that regiment is, you know, they're not gonna, the lads aren't just gonna turn around and say, so your mum died, so what, you know. They're a bit, even them guys are a bit more compassionate.
Yeah, definitely, mate. Definitely, it's not that horrific, is it? To be fair, you know, people are not. They're not that nasty, are they? They're not that. They don't.
No, they're not. It's. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, as you know, I mean, there's some fantastic people in the forces, but there are also a lot of dicks in the forces.
Oh, 100%.
You know. And it's something that is really not talked about by many people. It's like, oh, you know, everyone's a hero. If you've got a uniform, you're a hero, basically. But when you serve with certain people and you can see that they're horrible or they're bullying, and I was never really into the whole, if somebody's been in longer, then this guy's the sprog, this guy's the nobody. I was never into that. And that's what I really loved about the personal development industry. It was like someone new has come onto your team, let's encourage them, let's motivate them, let's get the best out of them, rather than let's slag them off because they've only been in for 2-3 years, or do you know what I mean? So I was never into all of that. That's why I really warmed to the and they were more advanced than the military, you know, with their psychology in that way of bringing on people, rather than let's slam someone because he hasn't done his guns course or his jumps course or his, you know, let's just slam him. Where's your daggers? And I can remember doing a talk for the military academy years ago, and I know some people, if they're not some people in elite units, they kind of look down on people that aren't in elite units, which I think is total bollocks. So when I did the talk for the military academy, I said, look, whatever regiment you're going into, it's a fantastic achievement. You know, you just to get through that basic training, it's a great achievement. So, you know, I'm all about supporting and encouraging people.
Yeah, definitely, man. I mean, one of the biggest shocks to me was when I left training and went to 40 Commando, and I got the King's Badge in training, and I just, and I
wow,
thought,
you're a bit of a superstar, mate.
Hey, well, you think that, yeah, but then I got to 40 Commando, and it was just like neat shit from everyone, including the troop officer. He was he was a young officer who'd just come in, and he was just deflecting shit onto me. But I was shocked at the amount of bullying that was going on, and like,
there's a lot of
I received a fair bit, mate. I received a fair bit, and it took its toll on me, to be honest. It did take its toll. But again, I think things have changed now. That was part of it. But there are some amazing guys, but it's not spoken about. But there are some knobbers, as we say in the call.
There is, I'm
life, isn't it?
I just say as it is. And I can remember, somebody phoning me up years ago when they were like, oh, this guy's been killed in this conflict and stuff like that. And I was just like, the guy was a bully, Yeah. And, I don't wish that upon anyone, but he was somebody I would rather avoid. Very tough guy, but I was just at the same time was like, I didn't respect him. And I think he hated me more because he knew I didn't respect him, because he used to just walk around punching people in the arm, all of this stuff. It's not necessary. It's not gonna build someone up mentally. I'm not a fan of, oh, let's go and bully somebody to make them stronger. That's just bullshit. Bullies just do that because they're horrible.
And I think, one of the things I've dealt with a lot is I've not been bullied that much, because I'm pretty quick to stand up and have a crack. I don't, I had a really good upbringing. My dad was ex-military copper, and then he was an ambulance man, technician, paramedic they call him now. And he was, he's a big guy, and he was really kind until you crossed the line, and then he was harsh but fair, and that worked for me. But I've never liked bullies, and I think, having worked in education and I'd been in a bullying culture, I worked for 10 years teaching young people that had been kicked out of school, but and they were easy compared to dealing with the senior management teams, but the culture was absolutely horrific. And, that for me, I don't like to see people trod on. I don't like it. And that drives part of what I do as well. But okay, so rhino skin, right? I've not got through all of it, your latest book, but there's a couple of things in it that I want to say. And one is, Michael Faraday is a hero of mine as well. And I was really surprised to read it. And I just thought, wow. But I used to teach electrical engineering, you see. So so I would bring this guy up at a session and go, look, we're going to talk about Faraday, because the guy was awesome. So anyone who's interested needs to read your book to go further than that. That's just something common, a common thread we've got. But you're really talking about coming from no money, no support, being looked down upon, and still making something out of his life, still driven with a purpose.
Absolutely. And I mean, thanks to Faraday, it was the beginnings of the electric motor.
Positive male role models is one of the things that going through the education, working with knife crime, working with ex-offenders, all things that I've done, and gang culture, positive male role models is a bit of an issue, I think, in the society we've got. And again, this is why I find Leg Up so important. And obviously working with people like yourself, doing these sort of like Talk2Kev things and talking about emotions. It's okay to talk about emotions. And I think we need to normalize it. And that's what this is about. But one of the things you said is, well, it doesn't matter where you've come from. What matters is where you're going. And again, this is a positive psychology aspect of coaching, and one that I use all the time. Rather than reflecting too deeply on your past, although we do need answers, working out where you want to go and your route towards it and how you're going to get there, they're the more important things for happiness.
Yeah, I think so. You've got to, I mean, some people's past are fantastic, and then, if you want to look back at that and have lessons from that, some people's past is not so good. And it just lies, everything just lies on where you put your focus.
Yes.
There are things, everyone watching this now, I don't care who they are, there's something that's not going really brilliantly in your life, or it's not going quite right. But if you focus on that above everything else, so it all then that's when you're going to have severe mental problems. And I can remember listening to the Zig Ziglar, a famous American motivational speaker years ago, and he was talking about this person she was just complaining about her job and this and that, and she complaining. And he said, "Look, I'm going to be honest with you." And she said, "What? Your life's about to get a lot worse."
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean it's about to get a lot worse? And he said, because you have so much negativity and poison and resentment, and you're playing the victim all the time, it can only get worse if that you're just focusing on that. And then he said, let's write a list out. And she wrote a list out of all of the positive things in her life. And then when he's seen her next, she had completely changed her life around. So it really does boil down to gratitude. Everything that is going on at the moment, I would not change this for being around in 1941, or the First World War. There's a lot of times in history that I'd be like, do you know what? The lockdown is a challenge. It's not great financially for a lot of people, apart from Jeff Bezos
Yeah.
and Amazon. But for some people it has, beyond that, we live in an awesome time in history. And one of the things that we have to remember is we live in one of the richest countries in the world. And I know money isn't everything, but just to be able to turn on that water, is a huge thing. And that's why I do write about people in Man the Fuck Up. Is like, there's a story in there also about Stephen Hawking.
Yeah.
So it's like, now I've got an injury on my leg and I haven't been able to run for 6 months, and I can't walk further than a mile at the moment. So which is obviously a far cry compared to the 100Ks and all the ultras stuff I've done. Okay, I can't really walk much further than a mile at the moment, but you know what? I can walk, I can sit up, I can move my arms, and it all boils down to that. So the problem with a lot of people is they're focusing on, oh, my life's not as good as David Beckham's, or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Oh, why can't I live like this, like Hugh Hefner, or whatever it is? Do you know what I mean? Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
There's 3 million people, 3 billion people in the world that earn less than $2.50 a day. So just the fact that you have the ability to watch this interview through a laptop or a mobile or an iPad or a Samsung phone or whatever it is, you're lucky.
Gratitude's a huge thing. It will shift a person's mind so quickly, and learning to practice gratitude is something that we talk about a lot with the group, and like I do a lot with clients. It's one of the top things for me when, like you say, when people are coming to me and the whole world's falling apart. Sometimes it's not really falling apart that much, and like you say, sometimes they're focusing on the wrong thing.
Absolutely.
Something else you talk about, and I love as well, I talk about a lot, risk versus reward. A lot of people won't risk failing because they don't want to look bad. They don't want to have that point in time where, they don't want other people to talk about them. They don't want to look stupid. But for me, I always talk about risk versus reward. I'm like, what you got to lose, what you got to gain, what's stopping you?
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Ultimately, you've got to think to yourself, all right, just fast forward for another 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, or however old you are, and you're 80 or 90. And do you really want to be lying on your deathbed thinking to yourself, oh, what if I would have gone for that? And that's one of the biggest reasons that I will take risks. Nothing is guaranteed at all in life. Some people are like, oh, if you just work really hard, then, you know, you're going to get the rewards. And you might, but you might not.
Yeah, you might
You
not.
know, if you don't take the risks and you don't put the work in,
Yeah,
you're 100% not going to achieve anything.
Taking positive action, that's pretty much one of the things that we always talk about. And if you don't take positive action, nothing positive will ever happen, will it?
That's it. You've just got to put yourself out there.
Haven't you?
Yeah, and it can be scary, but, you know, I mean, I know a girl now, she's a lovely, lovely person, and she's just become a recluse. She's only early 30s, she hardly ever goes out. She's stopped her job, and you know, she's constantly focusing on what's not going right in her life, and her life is just passing her by. There's got to be a point where you get to, it's like, right now, okay, I've had a few years off now, and now I'm coming out of the gate, and now I'm going for it. I'm getting myself around the right people, around strong people. I'm reading the right books, you know, I'm listening to the right material, you know. And that's another thing, is everything boils down to what you feed your mind with. I have saved literally thousands of hours by not watching news bulletins on Brexit.
Me too.
We were fine before we were in Europe. We were fine when we're in Europe. Whether we're in Europe, whether we're out of Europe, we'll be fine. Yep. Ultimately, it's what you're going to do. Don't wait for governments to change your life, because it doesn't make much difference, to be honest.
I don't think it does, and I'm 100% with you on that. And I think what matters the most is the way that we perceive our life, and it's completely mindset. I mean, optimism is basically that feeling that, you know, everything's just going to be all right. And the sad thing, you know, you talk about like the lady that, you know, it's when you're in that place, because I've been in that place post leaving the Marines. I struggled. I had a lot of things go on. And I know that I had a bit of an identity crisis, because that happens throughout our whole life. And the transition's difficult. One of the difficult things is who you've got around you. That also counts. But
massive.
The thing for the leg up is getting people to come to us, you know, when they're in that position, is the hardest thing. And that's why I'm doing these talks, Mark, because the more normal it is to talk about emotions. Everybody's got emotions. Emotions are literally just telling you to take some form of action, right? And that's it. They're just indicators of what's going on in the world in front of you. And then if you have the right people, if you can share what you're going through, and obviously when we talk about emotions, I'm talking about the negative ones. They're the ones that impact us the most in terms of moving forward and becoming happy. It's all about being happy. But it's hard to get those people that are stuck, you know, and, you know, don't stay stuck, you know, at least ask. And I think the first point of contact is just to talk to somebody who's completely out of your social circle, doesn't know any of your circumstances, and probably who can truly empathize, who's been through similar stuff. And this is where I'm getting a lot of people messaging me, you know, because I'm telling them that I don't mind talking about some of the stuff I've been through.
If someone's in a hole and they're like complaining or whatever like that, the best thing that you can do is, you know, extend your arm into that hole and pull them out. Don't jump in the hole with them and start bitching about life.
It is all mindset. It's all mindset, isn't it?
Everything is, you know, get around the right people, feed your mind with the right stuff, cut out the negative people, cut out the negative media, and march on, move forward.
Absolutely, mate. So what's next for you? What's coming up for you?
Yeah, it's just publishing this rhino skin. I know that the audiobook version of Man the Fuck Up is out pretty soon now, hopefully within the next 2-3 weeks. So that's great. I do some of the narrating for that myself.
I was going to ask, have you done the narration? Have you not done all of it?
No, I haven't done all of it because I can't be bothered to do all of it.
Are you going to get Rhys Ifans to do it? Because I know that you've hooked up with him, haven't you?
Rhys Ifans. I met him briefly once. I don't know him, but yeah, Reese is he's a very Welsh accent. However, he's a fantastic actor,
Yeah.
and he could do any accent. But yeah, so I did some of the audiobook myself for the Man the Fuck Up, and the first chapter of Rhino Skin. I kind of felt especially with the first chapters of both of these books are very personal, and they come out of the gate not pulling any punches, kind of thing. So I was like, well, this is me. I don't feel that a third party narrator could deliver this. However, a third party narrator, Kevin Archer, who's a fantastic narrator, a lot more eloquent than me speaking.
Well, I don't know what you mean.
I don't know what you mean. He's a well-spoken English guy, but a general English, not like a kind of a scummy sort of accent similar to yours. Do you know what I mean?
I'm from a pit town in the Midlands. What do you want?
You didn't got a rough accent like yours. I'm only winding you up, mate.
So how can people find your book then? How do they get to you?
Yeah, just go to, Mark Llewhellin on Amazon. So it's Llewellyn is Llewhellin. There's The Underdog, there's Delusions of Grandeur, there's my happy book. Smug Bastard is another book as well.
Your titles are definitely grabbing people, and I would put you in the self-help tough love category.
I think so. I mean, if you want it a little bit more fluffier, you probably go for The Underdog, Delusions of Grandeur, and Happy, and Get Back Up. But when I've just recently started going a bit more tougher, you know, because it's more like who I am as well.
Yeah,
there's 4 nice books, and they're good books in my opinion, and they got fantastic reviews, obviously. But The Man the Fuck Up, The Rhino Skin, and the one coming after that, it is stronger.
Yeah,
it's stronger shit. So hold on to your seatbelts. Hold on when you're reading these books. Do you know what I mean? Because you're going to be like, some people are like, oh, these books aren't for everybody, and they're right. They're right, you know.
I used to offend people at the drop of a hat when I first left the Marines, and I didn't even need to try. But yeah, it's.
No, you've got one of those looks that does offend people.
Fantastic, mate. Well, let's wrap it up here. And mate, fantastic to have you on, and looking forward to seeing what you're going to be doing next. So yeah, wicked stuff, mate. Thank you.
Thank you, Kev. It's an honor to be on your podcast. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, mate.
No worries.